evening, everybody. President Donald Trump is weighing in on the Biden Department of Justice document hoax investigation against him. This comes the very day that Special Counsel Robert Hur, well, he's former special counsel now, he resigned today. He was testifying on Capitol Hill about Biden's own document scandal, the very scandal the Marxist media want to ignore and keep from the American public. President Trump wrote on Truth Social that Biden, quote, had many times more documents, including classified documents, than I or any other president had. He had them all over the place with zero supervision or security. He does not come under the Presidential Records Act. I do. Trump also added that the DOJ, quote, gave Biden and virtually every other person and president a free pass. Me? I'm still fighting. MAGA. And we're finally getting to hear directly from Special Counsel Robert Hur on Biden's declining mental state. Here was Hur today on Capitol Hill.
The evidence and the president himself put his memory squarely at issue. We interviewed the president and asked him about his recorded statement. Quote, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs, end quote. He told us that he didn't remember saying that to his ghostwriter. He also said he didn't remember finding any classified material in his home after his vice presidency. And he didn't remember anything about how classified documents about Afghanistan made their way into his garage. My assessment in the report about the relevance of the president's memory was necessary and accurate and fair. Most importantly, what I wrote is what I believe the evidence shows and what I expect jurors would perceive and believe. I did not sanitize my explanation, nor did I disparage the president unfairly.
Also happening today, the full transcript of Hur's interview with Biden has been released. You may remember this interview was the key portion of Hur's report, which found Biden was just a, quote, sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. According to the transcript released today, the President of the United States couldn't even remember the year when his son Beau died, nor could he say the year that Donald Trump was first elected president. Simply astounding. The exchange came when Biden was asked why he took classified documents upon leaving office in 2017. Biden tried to invoke Beau's death, despite the fact Beau had died in 2015. At a certain point in that conversation, Biden asked, quote, what month did Beau die? It wasn't until White House attorney Rachel Cotton stepped in to help Biden that he realized Beau had been dead since 2015. So Joe Biden did, in effect, forget his own son's death. You may recall he emerged from the White House to deny the facts of that story, and he did so aggressively. Here's what he said.
There's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of. Every Memorial Day, we hold a service remembering him, attended by friends and family and the people who loved him. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away or passed away.
We now know that Biden was indulging in pure theater. We know now, of course, that everything he said there was a complete and a total lie. And it was likely not the only lie Biden had told about the investigation. Turning now to another Marxist Dem lie, a House Republican report contains new testimony that contradicts a key witness of Liz Cheney and the January 6th committee. Republicans found inconsistencies between the never-before-released testimony of a Secret Service agent and that of a former White House staffer, Cassidy Hutchinson, the former aide to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. She was the Clown Committee's star witness, and appropriately so. Hutchinson testified she'd been told that Donald Trump lunged toward a Secret Service driver in a vehicle. But the agent who drove the vehicle negated Hutchinson's statement, said he never saw the former president lunge, never, not once. And the driver testified further in November of 2022. His testimony would have discredited Hutchinson outright and the January 6th committee's absurd lies. But his testimony was, curiously, never released to the public. Which brings us back to the question. Was Liz Cheney and the January 6th committee actually after the truth? Well, the answer is obvious. They were not. They were just trying to put on a blockbuster hit. Just like her father did with the Iraq War, Liz Cheney tried to defraud the American people with all of her lies about what actually happened on January 6th. And we are only getting to the bottom now of just how sinister and significant her lies and the lies of the January 6th committee have been. Turning now to the crime crisis and violence in America, an update on the heinous act of attempted murder on a white teenage girl in St. Louis that we reported to you yesterday. Here is the shocking attack in which several black females beat this girl. They repeatedly slammed her skull into the concrete. Watch if you can.
Look. You're in, Penny.
Authorities have finally arrested that teenage girl, she's 15 years old, for her role in the incident. The school put out a bunch of just pure blather rather than dealing with the facts as they do them to be. The victim is hospitalized. She is in critical condition. Local reports have described violent fights among students like these as a common occurrence, and not simply a common occurrence, but common occurrences for decades. It turns out this isn't the only act of anti-white violence in that area either. A former student spoke out regarding years of anti-white discrimination at the Hazelwood School District. An administrator even alleged that her white skin color was the reason for her demotions. Woke diversity, equity, inclusion policies in St. Louis make black on white violence acceptable, if not the norm. And joining us now to react to all of this is the Attorney General of the great state of Missouri, Andrew Bailey. Mr. Attorney General, great to have you with us on the show. Your reaction, if you will, to the events of yesterday and what has befallen this poor young lady, a 15-year-old student at Hazelwood.
Well, my heart goes out to the victim. We have far too much juvenile crime in the state of Missouri. It's undermining the credibility of our criminal justice system. And I think it's time for structural change. Look, there have been fewer commitments to the Division of Youth Services by juvenile officers in the juvenile court system over the past years, to the point that the state of Missouri has had to shutter Division of Youth Services institutions and facilities. Those are facilities designed to treat problem youth, to prevent them from becoming criminal defendants in adult court. And so what we see is a breakdown in the system. There's a mechanism in Missouri law that allows for juveniles who commit egregious enough crimes to be tried as adults when it appears that their problem behavior can't be remedied in the juvenile system. And yet we've also seen a sharp decline in the number of juvenile certifications. And so there are serious enough crimes where juveniles need to stand trial as adults because we simply can't treat the problem in the juvenile court system. And I think until we get serious about juvenile court reform, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see these kinds of egregious crimes. And again, my heart goes out to the victim and the victim's family as she struggles for her life.
Yeah, the shame is that this should happen at all anywhere. The further shame is that it's been happening in the Hazelwood area, according to everything we could find out, for decades now. Black on white violence in particular in the school system. The nonsense that the school put out as a statement which did not name anyone as the aggressor, did not name anyone particularly as the victim. It was a nonsensical statement without calling for responsibility. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, the purpose of the juvenile code is to serve the best interests of the child, and not holding juveniles accountable for wrongful conduct is not serving their best interests. And so this is a complete and utter failure. You know, we see school systems that are more interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and achieving these kind of ephemeral, racial equity indices rather than preventing this type of behavior. And at that point, they're no longer educating children, they're indoctrinating children. And here we see the direct harm that can result when we become focused on these radical social experiments instead of actually educating children and holding wrongdoers accountable. This is what happens. And it's shameful. Shame on the adults that were supposed to be in the room to prevent this kind of behavior. Shame on those who can't speak with moral clarity on these issues.
It's clear that the school is taking no responsibility for its role in all of this. I would like to turn, Mr. Attorney General, you're suing the Biden administration for censorship under Missouri v. Biden. The latest, if you will, on how that suit is going.
Certainly. And that lawsuit is the most important vindication of our First Amendment rights in this nation's history. We've uncovered a relationship of both coercion and collusion between officials in the Biden White House across a spectrum of bureaucratic agencies, targeting conservative voices on big tech social media platforms for censorship in violation of our right to free speech. The harm is to anyone who's either spoken or listened on big tech social media platforms. And the harm is ongoing because individuals are now less likely to talk about COVID tyranny, less likely to talk about election integrity, less likely to talk about President Donald Trump for fear of being booted off the platform. So the harm is ongoing. People are self-censoring. This is an important case. We've got to build a wall of separation between tech and state. We went to court and asked for an injunction, put on evidence back in May. This isn't some conspiracy theory. We have 20,000 pages of documents, numerous depositions that we put on into evidence, and obtained the first brick in the wall of separation between tech and state on the 4th of July in celebration of this nation's birth. And we defended that preliminary injunction against government censorship twice at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So the score is 3, Biden 0 in the fight for free speech. And we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to be at the Supreme Court next week, arguing the case Missouri v. Biden to put an end to government censorship. It's viewpoint discrimination. They're not targeting liberal voices, progressive voices. They're only selectively targeting conservative voices. That's exactly why we have the First Amendment.
Before the Supreme Court next week, give us what your expectation is as to how long the Supreme Court will take to rule.
Well, the Supreme Court's going to take time to craft a good opinion on this. And, we anticipate a ruling by June of this year. It's important that we continue to build out that wall of separation between tech and state as we move into an election cycle. We know that in 2020, the deep state suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story. They were in possession of Hunter Biden's laptop, knew of its authenticity, and yet the Department of Justice suppressed it and trained big tech social media to be prepared to suppress it in order to prevent that from being an issue in the election, because they wanted Joe Biden in office. They wanted President Trump out of office. That's election interference. We can't let it happen again. And we've got to continue to build that wall of separation between tech and state as we move into an election cycle. This lawsuit is the best way to do that.
Mr. Attorney General, thanks for everything that you're doing. Attorney General Bailey, thanks so much. It's critical, everything that you're doing for the survival of the Republic. We thank you very much for being with us. My fellow CEO and founder Mike Lindell is going on offense to defend election integrity. He's taking his fight to the Supreme Court as well. He joins us here next. Be with us for that. And Joe Biden is doing his best to destroy the economy. There's no two ways about it. He's already unveiled a new multi-trillion-dollar budget to get the job done. That's straight ahead. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free. Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your MyPillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
Welcome back. No one is fighting harder for election integrity this year than MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Lindell says he has explosive evidence about electronic voting machines, and he will unveil it this Friday on the steps of the Supreme Court as part of Kari Lake's bid to ban the systems in Arizona. You may recall the trial that we've been following in Georgia with the help of reporter Amber Connor. During that trial, experts exposed the shocking vulnerabilities of these election systems. In one example, a computer scientist, one of the country's leading experts on voting machines, used a pen to hack the election voting machine and enter the machine's operating system. And it took him only a matter of seconds to do that. The judge in that case, Judge Amy Totenberg, is now deliberating on the outcome of the case. She will soon determine whether these systems should be banned in the state of Georgia. And I don't think any reasonable person would suggest that if you can do that to a voting machine, that it should be in use in any state. Lindell has been vilified, of course, for warning Americans about the vulnerabilities of electronic voting for years. He's become the target of vicious and costly nonstop attacks, but that has not slowed him. And Mike Lindell joins us now. Mike, thanks for being with us, and let's turn first to what you plan to do there on the steps of the Supreme Court this coming Friday.
Well, first, Lou, this is breaking news. The lawyers now are moving it to Thursday, and they're going to do it Thursday evening electronically. They told me it's not going to be safe for me in front of the Supreme Court. And I kind of agree. I haven't been back there since January 7th of 2021. They said they don't want it to be anything to go wrong there and to make it about something else. So I had to agree with them, reluctantly agree with them, but we need to get the word out. That's the only thing that will stop this from getting to fruition. And I wanted to say what this is. This is a petition for a writ of certiorari. Now, this was the case that I started way back in 2022, before the 2022 election, when we were going to go state by state to get rid of these electronic voting machines. The first one was an injunction against the machines. The first plaintiffs there Mark Fincham and Carrie Lake. Now, that was thrown, it's very similar, like you said, to the curling case in Georgia that just went to trial in January. But ours was thrown out on standing, and that because they said the evidence was speculative. And then also that Carrie and Mark didn't have standing, which was, of course, they had standing. But it was appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and it was affirmed there. Then they sanctioned the lawyers, including I had hired at that time Alan Dershowitz, which is, everyone knows he's a Democrat. This isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. Both the Democrats wanted these machines gone a long time ago, but they sanctioned the lawyers. But here's the great news, everybody. The law allows, because they kicked this out on standing, it finally opens this door to the Supreme Court. And we're able to add new evidence, which just came about 3 months ago. This evidence is more explosive than any evidence I've seen, and I've seen a lot. This is going to shock the world on Thursday, and it's Lou, I've never been more optimistic and excited. I really believe these Supreme Court justices, they have grandchildren, children, they have families, and they have neighbors, and they see the destruction of our country, just like they made the 9-0 vote for the Constitution with the Colorado keeping our great real president on the ballot. I believe if they accept this, this evidence is so explosive that it'll have to be another 9-0 vote. I'm so excited, and I'll tell you, we really need everybody's help, too. The only thing that can stop this, we've got to get the word out. I need help. If you go to LindellPlan.com, we need resources. We need help. We've got to get this to fruition. We've got to get the word out, because we're not going to have the news outlets aren't going to be there bragging about it to the world. You're not going to see your Fox Newses of the world or your Newsmaxes, or for that matter, maybe even the attack media. So if you go to LindellPlan.com, help us out. We need funds for advertising to get the word out. We're going to splash this everywhere, because remember, the only way they stop this is if people don't know about it. Anyone that knows any of the justices, you need to encourage them to accept this case. But if they don't accept the case, everybody, let's say they don't accept it. One thing is the evidence is all going to be public by Thursday evening, and we need to get the word out everywhere, show this evidence, because the government deemed our elections critical infrastructure. I've been fighting for 3 years to secure our elections. This is the time. This is the time in history that I've been waiting for, and the whole world should be waiting for. This is the evidence you're going to see is nothing like it. Everyone's going to go. No one's going to believe it. It's going to shock the world, Lou.
Well, it sounds exciting, and it also sounds like it should be compelling to the Supreme Court. Give us your best judgment of what will be the reaction of the Supreme Court.
Well, I believe if we can get the word out with funding we need at LindellPlan.com, if we get the funding, we're going to do just like I did when I did Absolute Proof, the movie, which we got 160 million people to see it in 3 days, and we didn't have outlets to do it. We sent it out. We hired social media people. We hired email blasts all over the country. If we get the word out, I believe the Supreme Court, as long as everybody knows about it, and the people know about it, there'll be so much pressure, Lou. I really believe they have to look at this. What's been done wrong when you send stuff back on, and these courts that have sanctioned lawyers and they kick things out on standing. Remember, no judge in the United States, everybody, has looked at any of the evidence of based on merit. They've kicked it out for standing or sanctioned the lawyers just for saying, hey, we need to look at our election platform. We need to look at these machines. We need to see what's going on in our country. We're like a third world country, Lou. Nobody has elections like we do that are so corrupt. This is so I believe that the Supreme Court, I really believe it, with prayers and funding, that they will look at it, that there'll be pressure to look at it. And once they look at it, and they're going to vote 9-0. I really believe it'd be a 9-0, because it's just, even, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican on that Supreme Court. I don't care if you're compromised. This evidence will be so explosive that they're going to have to vote 9-0. I really believe that. They have to protect our country. They have to protect our country. That's what they're there for.
And this has been going on, as you say, for years. And we know one thing. The election of 2020 was absolutely rigged in so many ways. and it is time for there to be an accounting, and the American people demand it. And as you say, one assumes that if there is a vestige of justice left in our judiciary, that they will respond. And again, it's lindellplan.com. Please send whatever you can to help out as we approach Decision Day this week, coming up Thursday. Mike Lindell, as always, thanks so much for everything you're doing. We appreciate your being with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. And you're such a blessing to the network at Lindell TV. We're getting the word out. You've helped so much. And we thank you for coming over here and getting the word out and the truth to the American people.
Thank you very much, Mike. And good luck to all of us. Coming up, Joe Biden is doing his best to destroy this economy. He's unveiled a new multi-trillion-dollar budget. We speak to Virginia Congressman Bob Good. He leads the Freedom Caucus. We'll be talking about that and much more. Also, tens of thousands of illegals crossing into our country and our neighborhoods each day. And our safety is nowhere in even remote concern for this federal government of ours. And join us each and every day. That's right, 7 days a week for my podcast, The Great America Show podcast, available at LouDobbs.com. Wherever you get your podcast, our podcast will be glad to be of service. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free. Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your MyPillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
MyPillow.com.
Joe Biden has already spent trillions of dollars on his Marxist agenda. And at the current rate, the federal government is spending $1 trillion every 100 days. Think of that. Biden and his allies call it building back better. What specious nonsense they spew. In other words, devaluing the dollar, creating massive inflation, bankrupting everyday Americans is better in the sorry mind of Joe Biden. It doesn't look like there's any end in sight to this Biden madness. You would think with an election around the corner and inflation still a massive, massive problem for America, that Biden would control himself, would rein it in. But Biden has chosen to accelerate the country's demise economically. The White House just released a $7.3 trillion budget. Think of that. $7.3 trillion. Here's some of what that outrageous budget includes. $850 billion in defense, $12 billion for the border, That's right, only $12 billion, which we should add doesn't specify construction of a border wall at all. Instead, about half of those border funds will go to respond to quote-unquote migrant surges, that is, illegals at the border. The bill also allocates more than $500 million to hire more Border Patrol agents and CBP officers, the ones who aren't stopping any illegal aliens at all. While that's certainly a nice start, 1,000 new border agents aren't going to stop the flow of millions, tens of millions of illegals. The border is too long, it's unprotected, it's controlled by the Mexican drug cartels. And Joe Biden and the Marxist Dems know it because they created it. The bloated Biden budget also gives another $40 billion to the Department of Justice. Doesn't that make you feel better? Nearly $75 billion for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Nearly $12 billion for reducing the cost of college. What does that mean? That's Marxist code for wealth redistribution and paying off student loans. It just gets worse and worse. How does Joe Biden expect to pay for all of this? Well, with our money. Aside from printing money, the plan calls for a 25% tax on billionaires. Well, I think that's what's called class warfare. 25%. The top 1% of this country already account for nearly half of all tax revenue collected by the federal government. To Joe Biden and the Marxist left, that's just not enough. Elon Musk, for example, paid $11 billion in taxes in 2022. How much does a person have to pay before they've paid their fair share? Well, joining us now to react to all of this is Congressman Bob Good of Virginia. He's also has considerable insight into today's testimony from Robert Hur. Congressman Bob Good with us now. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Great to be with you, Lou. Thanks for having me again.
Let's start out with the testimony from the former special counsel, Robert Hur. Your reaction?
Well, I didn't get to directly see it because I was chairing my own subcommittee hearing, but I did read a little bit about it and gotten some updates on it. And it's, the Democrats were determined to try to get him to say that President Biden was exonerated or declared, not guilty or not culpable. Right. And of course, they didn't do that. Investigator Hur didn't do that. What he said was that what his report said, because President Biden would be a sympathetic figure as an elderly gentleman with a poor memory, he didn't think that you would get a conviction, and that was what his report was intended to convey. What he found, when Biden couldn't remember a lot of things that he asked him about, he couldn't remember some really basic functions like when he was vice president and things like that. And so he said, based on that, I don't think we'd get a conviction.
And do you disagree?
Well, in Washington, at least when a Democrat's on trial in position of power, it's kind of hard to get a conviction. It seems like if he was a Republican, I'm certain that we would get a conviction against him with this Department of Injustice, but perhaps we wouldn't with this president.
Well, let's turn to something that I think we could get a conviction, and that is $7.3 trillion budget floated by this administration. It is. Frankly, it looks to me like a comic book. This is not fiscal policy writ large. This is a joke. And I think the American people are just about tired of seeing any more jokes from this president. Your reaction to the $7.3 trillion and what it portends for the Republic?
The largest budget ever proposed. It is certainly at best, an incompetent tone deafness to the situation that the country is facing, largely because of this president's policies. The American people are suffering under his policies with, 40-year high inflation and 20-year high interest rates directly resulting from this borrowing and spending at unprecedented levels under this president. Americans are suffering under grocery prices and gas prices and utility prices and housing prices because of this president's policies. And our debt is snowballing so fast, Lou, as you know, we're adding $1 trillion every 4 or 5 months now. The interest on the debt is in the range of $1 trillion on an annual basis just to pay the interest. And this president either he's maliciously, deliberately, intentionally trying to destroy the country from a fiscal economic basis, or he simply just is incompetent and incapable of recognizing the harm that he's doing and the consequence of this spending that it's having, because he's just forecasting, $2 trillion deficits as far as the eye can see, and for the debt to go from $35 trillion roughly now to well over $50 trillion in less than 10 years.
I'm curious about something, Congressman. Why do Republicans continue to think that this man is not aware of what he's doing? It is a whole of government effort, a budget, and particularly the largest budget in this country's history. Its impact is clear. We're talking $2 trillion in deficits. We're talking, as you said, $1 trillion is being spent every 100 days. The entire government, by that measure, would have to be utterly incompetent. They are in terms of fiscal policy, but it isn't a failure of design. They mean to bankrupt the country. They mean to destroy this country, and there is no one standing at the bridge saying this will not pass.
You are correct. And, one of the common conversations I have with, particularly when I get back in the district and I get among the people, many of the people think, oh, Biden has, to your point, has no idea what he's doing. He's just clueless. He's absent-minded. And I say, you know what? I actually believe, to your point, I believe that he does know what he's doing, that he's all in on big picture, trying to transform, or we would say destroy the country, turn it into a Marxist socialist state, to advance his radical leftist policies as far and as fast as he can with the time that he has in power, hopefully in only another 10 months or so. And while he does get tired and he fades and he's got short-term memory issues and he's not the sharpest guy, in terms of big policy and the harm that he's doing to the country, I think he's all in. I think he wants an open border. I think he wants a socialist, Marxist welfare state. I think he wants to surrender American reliable, affordable energy and wants to force us onto wind and solar. I think he is okay with weakening our military. I think he wants to indoctrinate our kids in our schools and focus on DEI and CRT and transgender and LGBTQ and things like that. I think he wants abortion to be just a desired thing across the country with no restrictions whatsoever. He wants to redefine gender and sex and what a man is, what a woman is. I think he's all in on the terrible policies.
Oh, I think so, too. I know so. This man is an agent from hell. There is no other explanation that fits all of the empirical evidence. Yet the Republican Party doesn't seem to want to stand against him. The Republican Party does not want to say what he is, and that is evil incarnate. And he and the Marxist Dems are destroying the country from within. And I think, hoping right now that at some point there will be a flashpoint, whether it is in the Middle East or whether it is in the eastern flank of Europe, or whether it be Taiwan. Looking for a flashpoint so World War III can take our minds off all of these difficult but marginal problems like being a debtor nation in perpetuity. The ignorance of it all is overwhelming. It looks like Capitol Hill was invented as a place for truth to go to die and courage to be, laid down alongside truth. Your thoughts?
You're exactly right. As it applies to this president, Democrats and the Democrat Party in general in Washington, they are willing to lose elections in order to advance their radical agenda, to take us far to the left as uncompromisingly, as unapologetically as they can when they have full control, as they did the previous 2 years before Republicans got the majority here. But then to your point, what have we done with that majority? And while we've advocated for the right things, we've called for the right things, we've talked about the right things, when push comes to shove, when the rubber meets the road, and when we have to meet the moment as elected officials, as state legislature, as the federal legislature controlling one half of one branch of government, we to your point, got to say, no, we're not going to go along, not on our watch. We're not going to keep funding the border invasion. We're not going to keep funding Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray and their abuses of power. We're not going to keep funding the very policies that we run against. We're not going to keep giving them the money. And if it takes a government shutdown to say no and to force them to negotiate table, we're going to do that, because much worse than a government shutdown is continuing down the road that's unsustainable in the course that we're currently on.
And it's clear that the only power left to the Republicans in the House is to shut down the government and to quit funding the political persecution of President Trump, to quit funding the interference with the presidential election, and to quit funding the decapitation of everything in this in the government that requires strong minds and strong hearts. It just isn't happening, is it?
It is not. You know, I think we tell ourselves, hey, we're going to fight next time. We're going to fight between now and September 30 to make changes in how we fund the government for fiscal 25. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to get to September 30 when the next funding deadline, after we get through this cycle here, the fiscal 24, we're going to get to September 30 and Chuck Schumer is going to say no. He's going to say no to policy changes. He's going to say no to spending cuts. He's going to make demands. And we're going to be 35 days away from an election. I don't think we're going to be willing to shut the government down and say no then. So I fear we'll get a bad spending bill that Republican leadership in the House will take, predominantly Democrat votes, and fund the government for a year until October 1 of 2025 and totally emasculate or eliminate our ability, hopefully with a new president, President Trump, and a House majority that we've retained, hopefully, and a Senate majority that we obtained, and we won't have the ability to exercise the power of the purse and to change this government from a funding standpoint until October 1 of 2025.
Congressman, we thank you for being with us. The reports from the front are not good, but we appreciate the fight. Thank you so much. Congressman Bob Good. Coming up next, Biden's border crisis, well, affecting everything from public health to crime waves across the country. And oh, yes, the federal fiscal budget. We'll tell you all about it. Stay with us.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free. Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
And welcome back. The Chicago Department of Public Health says a measles outbreak is growing at a shelter for illegal aliens. We've eliminated measles in this country. They've been gone since 2000. But now measles are trying to make a comeback with the help of the invasion of illegals into this country over the past 3 years. This does happen. Medieval bugs that we eradicated have resurfaced on the backs of border crossers. And last year, New York City's health commissioner warned about, quote, an alarming trend of diseases festering among illegals. Around the same time, the Centers for Disease Control said cases of tuberculosis were on the rise for a second straight year. Having U.S. cities turned into hubs of disease is a small price to pay, we're told, for diversity. We're told that's our greatest strength. It's not true, but it sounds good. Joe Biden has an even bigger price in mind. He thinks that maybe $13 billion of your tax dollars would be very helpful. That's how much his allies want to move more illegal aliens from the border to every corner of the country, irrespective of disease, irrespective of jobs, irrespective of cost. These people are filling up jobs and housing that would otherwise go to Americans, at least some of them. They rely on public assistance, federal support payments that they don't pay into. And it all happens on our dimes, taxpayer dimes. And it adds up to a lot more than dimes. It adds up to tens of billions of dollars. And the Marxist Dems are having you pay for your own dispossession. Let's turn now to the state of Texas. The Lone Star State is calling on the Biden administration to drop its plans for a new processing facility along the southern border with Mexico. Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham calls it an expensive Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And she's certainly right. We don't need to make it more efficient for people to come in. We need to make it far easier to stop them and get them out. We don't need new processing facilities. We need a wall. Commissioner Buckingham joins us now to talk about all of this. And Commissioner, great to have you with us. Let's start with that processing facility. It sounds so benign, so harmless. Your reaction?
Well, Lou, it's always good to be on with you today. I hope you're having a great day. Well, down in Texas, we are just flabbergasted at so many things. This processing center that the Biden administration is talking about would only house about 500 migrants. That is a drop in the bucket of what is coming across our border every day. So like I said, a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, completely ineffective and not medically recommended. What we really need is to secure our border, build that wall. And the fact that he's asking for $13 billion to help the so-called sanctuary cities when he has failed to help anyone along the border, any of our communities that have been completely overwhelmed for years now, is just laughable and really, really disappointing. And on the same hand, all of his policies, like you said earlier, with the measles outbreak, with the tuberculosis. And as a practicing physician, I just want to talk to you about tuberculosis a little bit. It is not curable. You can make it go into a type of remission, but it lives there until you end up being immunocompromised. It has a way of coming back and causing great damage. There's no real way to vaccinate against it. Although there is a vaccine, it's not particularly effective. The treatments just get it to go quiet for a little while. So these are devastating diseases that are resurging in our country 100% because of Biden's policies.
And of course, it's politically incorrect to talk about illegal aliens bringing with them disease and with that certainly persistent disease. What is your judgment about what's going to happen here with measles? What is the prognosis, if you will, for the society that we live in?
Well, I think we're going to start seeing massive outbreaks all across the country when the children start going to school. All the kids, they're out at the playground, they're in close contact. So we're going to start seeing these diseases that we had basically eradicated be popping up. And what's really going to happen is that our folks who are most immunosuppressed, our older individuals, our people who are struggling medically, they're going to be the ones most at risk. It is why we have had the immunization policies we have had for our school children. It is what we have been warning about. I was on a plane the other day from the Valley in Texas by the border up on a commercial flight. And the flight was basically filled with migrants. They had their Red Cross blankets. They had all their new clothes. They had pieces of paper that said, "Hey, I'm trying to get to this city." And they were all coughing. And I can tell you that they are being transported all over the country by the federal government, further exposing everyone who's on those planes and buses with them. And it is just going to wreak havoc. It's the other part of chaos. And let's just all be reminded, this whole goal is to get to 270 electoral votes. Biden doesn't want us to count really who's coming across the border, but he does want to count the illegals in the census, which then would get them sway into who and how the Electoral College is divided up in congressional seats. And the liberal sanctuary city states have been bleeding and losing their populations because those people know prosperity is better in the conservative states. They've been fleeing those liberal policies to conservative places like Texas. And so this is the backfill to those districts to try and retain the liberals' power, to try and turn the Electoral College. And I just hope America recognizes it and realizes it. We need Trump as president.
Well, certainly the Biden administration doesn't pay any attention whatsoever to what the American people are thinking or desire. In point of fact, they're pretty much insisted upon doing exactly what the Marxist Dems and whoever is managing the Marxist Dem party means to do, and that is to continue this invasion of illegals. And Texas is fighting it, but are you winning that fight right now, Dawn?
No, we are not winning the fight, as painful as that is to admit. We're doing everything in our power. We are pushing with all our strength. We are trying to stand in the gap of where the federal government is supposed to be acting, but they're not. We are trying to defend our border, and we are completely failed by our federal government, unfortunately. And that's why I say, really, the end of the day, it's going to take a change in the federal policies to stem this tide. It's going to take a commitment to building this wall. It's going to take a commitment to enforcing our laws about immigration and the laws and rule of law of our country. So we are, in some ways, a Band-Aid also against a gun boom, but we are doing everything we can. We have victories to celebrate, but at the end of the day, it's the federal policies that serve as the draw that are bringing people here. And until those change, these masses, thousands of people coming across a day, are just going to continue and continue.
And meanwhile, the fight goes on, at least in the state of Texas. California, New Mexico, and Arizona have thrown the towel in already. Only Texas is standing on the border, trying to fight illegal immigration, despite the intentions and the sheer corruption of the Biden administration. Land Commissioner Don Buckingham of the great state of Texas, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for helping us get our message out. God bless.
God bless you. Thanks so much. Turning now to some other stories making headlines this evening. A Boeing whistleblower found dead in a hotel parking garage in South Carolina. Police say that the whistleblower, John Barnett, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but Barnett's attorney is not convinced at all. Barnett was set to appear for the second part of his testimony. That's why he was at the hotel. And Barnett had already testified that Boeing compromised the safety of the 787 Dreamliner jetliners to get them off the production line. A court planned to have him answer more questions Saturday, but that's when he stopped answering his phone. After Barnett's attorney asked the hotel to check on him, they found him. They found him dead in his truck. And it seems like there's more to this story than a straightforward suicide. It also serves as a reminder of the dangers faced by very real whistleblowers in this day and age. The investigation goes on. In Oakland, crime is a major concern, and it's affecting fast food restaurants. Multiple Taco Bell locations are forced to shut down indoor dining indefinitely and switch to drive-through service and cashless payments only because of the number of robberies and unrelenting crimes that are surging in Oakland, California. You may recall in January, In-N-Out said they would close their only Oakland restaurant because of runaway crime. Oakland is basically allowing itself to be ruled by the criminals, and it is the law-abiding people who are suffering, and suffering mightily. Americans have gotten far too used to being pushed around, whether it's by criminals or woke mobs, but in St. Leon, Indiana, a student took a stand, an important stand. Cameron Blasek is a high school senior who flies an American flag truck flag on his truck. School administrators told him to remove that flag, but he fought back. Watch what happened.
Have the right of freedom of speech, and that is an example right there, flying that American flag.
Cameron Blasek is a senior at East Central High School, and he says he's been flying this American flag behind his truck the entire school year without any problems, until this Thursday, when Blasek says he was called into the principal's office.
The school came to me and told me, hey, you got to remove this flag, otherwise you're getting written up for insubordination. And I kind of just told them straight up from the get-go, I said, it's not going to happen. I read them their own handbook, and I read them all their guidelines, and I read them Indiana state laws and everything that shows them that I'm perfectly legal and fine to fly that flag.
Well, good for those students. Several other students started flying American flags in solidarity with Blasek. The school, the principal, wisely chose to back down on an issue that the principal raised. One wonders why. The show of patriotism became so powerful that the school finally surrendered. And so did, well, the now educated principal of that school. Well, join us each and every day on my podcast, The Great America Show. It's available at bluedobbs.com, wherever you get your podcast. We'll be glad for you to pick up ours. Thanks for being with us. Join us here tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. Judicial Watch's Director of Investigations and Research, Chris Farrell. Among our guests, the Lindell Report is next, and you don't want to miss it. Good night, and God bless you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with